Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Moving into the Future. Today, we are joined by Mili Ristic of Milor Coaching. Mili is a leadership and mindset coach specializing in mindset, and I'm excited to have her on today because I've known Mili for a while, and she's very impressive with the way she carries herself and goes about her business, and that hasn't always been the case. She's developed into quite the leadership coach and trainer, and she's helped me myself. So I'm excited to have her on today. Mili, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me here today. This is awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, it's my pleasure, and it's a lot of fun. I'm excited to, tell your story to our listeners because it's an interesting story, and like I said, you've come a long way. Why don't you tell us? You've been in the States for about 10 years now, and have done a couple of different things, and there was a time where you were impacted by mindset coaching and training, and that's propelled you to where you are now.
That is right. Yes. So I come from a very small country. I'm coming from Serbia, as you can notice my accent. Funny fact about Serbia that I want to say is that Serbia is the smaller size than South Carolina, but I've been creating my life since I was a little girl, I would say, and coming from Serbia to US was a huge transformation and change for myself. There are lots of different situations that happened in my life that actually made me become a mindset coach. I did a mindset coaching unofficially for so many years, helping my coworkers and colleagues and friends and everybody. And then 2018, I realized I was working in commercial real estate industry for interior design firm. I was burned out. And I listened to my intuition that there is a bigger meaning in life than just running a hamster wheel and being on autopilot all the time. And I ran into the website of my coach, Bob Proctor. He died recently, but he was an amazing human being, working 16 years in human potential. And then I decided to go to his seminar live in LA. And when I went there, I was 7 days there. I was crying because he was saying everything that I realized who I was and why I was not afraid of change. And like I realized all my journey, why I'm here where I'm at even today and back then, and how I did it, like using my mind, creating my life instead of living by default, like living, under like what society tells you, what circumstances are. And I decided that I want to help everyone, as many people as I can, and organizations to really create their lives, create the circumstances and results instead of being only reactive and living just like that, just tiptoeing to the end of life.
Yeah, because you see it so often. I mean, people get so caught up. You mentioned it on the hamster wheel and just the rat race of life. And there's so many different ways people get lost in just this level of normalcy and what they believe is safety, whether that be professionally or personally. They're made to believe that this is how it's done. This is how you have to do it. This is what's quote unquote normal. Yeah. And, everybody's different, and everybody has a different path and a different journey and are inspired by different things. You mentioned you wanted to help others, and I'm very much the same way. I try my best always to help others. But as far as when you were at that seminar, what was one of the most impactful things that you learned that you really took? Because you mentioned you were hearing all of the things you needed to hear. It was very reassuring in the sense of you knew you had this potential inside you.
That's right.
But you just never had anybody put it in such a way where you believed you could do it. So, what was it that you were hearing there? And again, just so I'm, hearing this correctly, it's Proctor Gallagher training, correct?
Right, Proctor Gallagher Institute.
Institute, yeah.
Bob
Okay.
Proctor was my mentor and my
Bo
coach.
Proctor?
Bob Proctor.
Bob. Yeah,
He was in movie The Secret. I'm sure
Oh, really?
you know.
Yeah,
and
I've
he
seen
wrote
that.
a book. Yeah.
Not to get too far off track, but when I saw The Secret, I was like just out of college. And I remember I was in Cortland, New York, upstate New York, and I stumbled on this documentary, The Secret, and that had the similar effect on me, where I was talking about the law of attraction and the energy that you put out.
That's what you get in.
Right,
yeah.
exactly. And it was very impactful for me. A year later, I ended up moving down here, and my life began. And between that and a couple other books I read, it like really shaped the young adult I became into adulthood. And I still, I'm a firm believer in it all. It's not even a believer. I know it to be true.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so like,
and it's very powerful.
Right. So is that a lot of what he spoke about there and stuff like that at that seminar in LA?
That's right. Yeah. So you see, when I didn't have a nice childhood, I would say. My parents were divorced. I grew up with my father, and then I moved to a bigger city to finish university. So in my mind, I always had this positive perspective for life. I would always, I recognize the situation. It's not good as, right now, but in my mind, I always, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to work with Americans at some point of time. I don't know exactly when, but I'm going to also travel. I'm going to work in a corporate world. I'm going to, be surrounded with this type of people. So everything what I wanted, everything happened. And I cannot say that these were really, I didn't know what I was doing. So I was unconscious competent. That's
right.
how we call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, that was a cultural, I would say, shock, coming and on my own, coming to America, not knowing anyone and not even speaking English very well. So, it's quite a journey. But going back to that seminar, what was the most impressive to me is that most of the people, 97% of people, live only on 5 senses, like only on what they can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, like only what you can see,
right.
this physical world.
The physical,
exactly, that's it, right? And what I learned there and what shook me up, and I realized that I was using, it's actually we have much more potential within us than we know of it, right? So what I was using, it was my imagination, it was my intuition, right? Going back into my life and looking at, oh, wow, that's why I was always, kind of winning, and also perception. I was always looking positive to things in my life and always thinking into results, not into problems. Okay, problems, yes, I know they're here, but what is the solution? What I can do now to solve this? I don't dwell on them for a long time, or I don't live in a past like many people do. So these were the main things that I realized, perception, that's one of our huge potential that we have, or we call it 6 higher faculties that we have.
6 higher faculties?
That we have within us, and we don't use them. If you go back to Henry Ford, if you go Steve Jobs, also Carnegie, all of these successful people, Bezos too, he also uses these higher faculties. The most successful people, only 3% live on this. And I'll tell you what they are, right? So I mentioned imagination, but you need to know how to use it in a proper way. Usually people use imagination to imagine negative situations.
Right.
Our minds naturally go to negative situations. Oh, this can happen or that can happen. That's why I don't want to change job. That's why I don't want to open my own company, because your imagination goes always on a different way. So successful people, they use it in different direction, right? So, when I change my job, this will happen. And you create what you want to happen. You don't think what could or what if happen, but what do you want to happen? So that's one thing, right? Imagination. Then we have intuition. We always have intuition and that gut feeling that tells us what to do or not to do, which steps to take or not to take, but we don't listen to it many times. And then we say, oh my God, I should have listened to my gut, right?
Right.
So that is the second thing. The third thing is perception. As I said, you can always look into past and bring past into the present moment and dwell on problems and that, but you can also switch and always look and see results, like what is that I can do, what is a solution that I can, who can help me, or how I can get out of this.
Right.
I remember, this is a story, when I moved to New York from San Francisco. I came first to San Francisco, and I just had made a paperwork there. I didn't have a credit score or anything, so my roommate was leaving. So the landlord didn't want to let me sign the lease because I don't have a credit history, and I was making cash at that time. And he told me, you need to leave this place in 3 days. And I was like, in 3 days, like, how I'm gonna? And he said, if you don't find somebody who can sign the lease with the proper right income and all that, you know how it works in America.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I mean, in 3 days. So I started looking for places, and I didn't like anything like what they were renting. And then I sat by myself in some coffee shop, and I was thinking, okay, well, I was only 3 months in New York back then. I was thinking, oh, okay, this is New York. This happens to everyone.
It does.
Yeah, it does, right? So I made a decision right there and then. I'm going to stay in this place, but I don't know how. I just knew I'm going to stay. And magic worked out this thing. So I met a friend who actually became guarantor for me to sign the lease for a year, right?
Yeah.
So there is one example of how to use perception,
right,
for instance.
Yeah, and exactly. And what it really comes down to is the mindset. So humans by nature, we were, from our earliest stages, were, built out of fear. We had to survive. We had to find ways to survive. Obviously, things now are much easier for us. We're not getting chased by wild animals. We know we're going to have food on our tables. We know we have shelter and roofs over our head, and natural disasters aren't going to, take us away or anything like that. But because of that initial fear that's been created inside us from such an early state,
that's right,
it sticks with us forever.
We are programmed.
Exactly. We are programmed to live in fear.
That's right.
And now you see it so often with so many variables that create this fear for us, that people get lost in it and they get trapped in that fear and, a constant state of fear. You see through the pandemic, like the way polarization really is what it is. These different polarizing things, whatever they may be, just are shoved in our face constantly. And then, people are programmed to live in fear of those things. And what I'm interested to understand is, how do you change that? How do you change it in somebody who is constantly in fear of others or themselves or the unknown? How do you change that mindset so that they can start thinking in a more positive manner? Because lucky for me, I don't deal with this. I'm always on the green side of the grass.
You have a good programming
right.
system.
Yeah,
yeah.
Exactly. The grass is always green on my side. So I don't necessarily succumb to it, but as somebody who offers coaching and mindset coaching and leadership coaching in that world, how do you go about changing that mindset?
So first, I cannot change anyone's mindset if they don't want it.
Right.
So that's one requirement. People and leaders, executives, they really need to want to do this. There are lots of tools that we use to change our mindset. As you said, there are two parts of our mind. You have conscious and subconscious. Subconscious, it's much bigger part because we call it also emotional mind. All the habits are stored there. It's like a multitude of habits. Like when you think about it, when you wake up in the morning, you do the same thing over and over and over again. You will go to the same restaurants all the time. You'll respond or react to situations the same way. You comb your hair the same way.
Right.
So this is all stored in our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is basically, it's driving us. This is our programming, and how it is programmed, how we are programmed when we were little kids, babies, everything what was surrounding us, our parents, what they were telling us, the society, the culture, everything is stored there because when we were little babies, we didn't have conscious mind, and subconscious was wide open. So it's like a dirt. Whatever you plant in it, whatever seed you plant in it, it will grow. So you've been given a script, all of us. We've been given a script from our parents, our cultures. And we've been carrying, most of the people have been carrying these scripts or all our lives.
Right.
Like some of them till they die, right? They don't realize. But they're patterns that you repeat all the time. So with your conscious mind, you protect that information to go into subconscious. But you asked me very, I would say, deep questions.
We're getting deep here, Mili. You thought this was going to be cookie cutter. You came to the wrong spot.
Yeah, this is a very deep question. Like I even tell you all my coaching program about the
right. And because it wasn't always the case for me, like, you know, like, I mean, everybody I think has to go through a stage in life, even yourself. Like, you know,
right.
there is a point in life where you want to make that change to you know, become, again, it's like right around when I saw The Secret, I realized my potential and like the things that I could do. And again, you know it because it's in your subconscious, like you have it, but you don't necessarily know how to bring it to the conscious mind and make it apparent in your everyday life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, how does that switch get made? And you're right first by saying that you have to want to make it happen. You can't take somebody who's severely depressed and, you know, just say, you know, hey, come with me, like, I'll help get you out. Like, no, there has to be, it's a two-way street.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm interested in is when they do make that choice, you know, what are some of the things? Is it like, you know, writing out their goals and their ambitions and things like that? Or, you know, what other practices can be instilled in order to gradually make that shift? Because that's the other part about it. It doesn't happen overnight.
No, it doesn't. Exactly. It is a process. But first thing that has to happen, as I mentioned, is decision.
Right.
Right. You gotta want. And then usually what happens with people or with like leaders, anybody, they change this programming in two situations. One is when it's emotional impact. For instance, something, but it's always bad situation. When something bad happens, somebody dies in your family, or September 11 was, or even Corona was emotional impact for so many people. And then decide, oh, you know, I need to change something. I cannot live this way anymore, right? That's kind of, I would say, big motivator, unfortunately. And then a second way how you can change this programming, or we call it paradigm, is through repetition. And also through coaching as well. So you need somebody to keep you accountable. And what do we do? As you said, okay, I'm gonna tell a story of my client, right? So my client, one of my clients came to me maybe 7-8 months ago, and he wanted to leave his 9-to-5 job. He wanted to open his own company, and he wanted to buy an apartment because he lived with his mother-in-law and 2 kids, small kids. So, you know, but he never believed that he can do this. He never believed, he never had, as you said, he lived in fear, right? And the way how he grew up, and even though he said he's very positive, optimistic man, but he's surrounded with negative community and not that much negative, but pessimistic community, right? So when you're a little flower, nice there, and like all weeds around you, you cannot really express yourself, right? So we and in a matter of fact, he also had a business coach because he kind of started working on his own business. He wanted to open a business, and when we started working together, he was astonished and why, and he even transformed his life in 5 weeks. In 5 weeks only, because he was so ready he was very coachable. So what we did first, we clarified what is that you really, really want.
Right,
what do you
deliberate.
want exactly? What do you want on your personal level? What do you want on your professional level? And then we set that goal, but it's a process of getting clear and specific on writing journal, writing your story, making your own movie, becoming director of your own movie, creating your life. So he started journaling, writing down in details what he wants. As I told you about that, how I got my job in tech industry, right? Every single paper, every single day. And then also while he was doing that, so this is a coaching process, right? So he was changing beliefs beliefs that been installed in him for years. So he started changing these beliefs while he was, because repetition. Every day when you writing causes you to think. When you think and when you repeat this every single day, you start thinking that it's possible. Why? Because your subconscious mind doesn't know if something already happened or has to happen. Accept it as a truth. So you can plant in that dirt, right? Think about your subconscious like a dirt.
Right.
You can plant weed, you can plant
a flower,
a
tree.
or tree, anything, whatever you plant will grow. So your thoughts are seeds, right? So he was planting the seeds for his new future, right? So how days were going. So the most important thing is to not give up, because you don't plant the seed and then you go back and like you want to dig it out, right?
It takes a lot of time for a tree to grow, and it takes a different amount of time for a flower to grow.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So he started changing beliefs and then habits. But these are all it's a coaching process that I took him through. Changing habits. Okay, what is me as that new person? What I would be doing today. What is one thing or one action step? What is one habit that I need to develop to start becoming that person? Okay, what I need to do right now, I need to have my LLC. Okay, LLC. I need to find clients. Okay, contacting clients. So it all comes into
fruition. Or what do you like?
No, I saw you want to ask me something.
No, go ahead. Keep going.
No, but it all comes about your mindset.
Right.
Also attitude, changing your attitude. What is the attitude? Your thoughts, your feelings, and then actions.
Right. And I was just going to say, what I think so many people get trapped in is thinking that the mountain is so hard to climb.
That's right.
And while, it can be a hard climb, you just got to take it one step at a time, though, and that's why writing everything out and creating those habits, like starting your own business, for example.
That's right.
I think people often think starting a business is this like profound and like just extremely difficult thing, when in reality, it's not at all. It's an incredibly easy thing, especially in America. It's one of the things America really does have going for it. It's probably easier to start a business in America than anywhere else in the world. And that's, do it while you can, because it's probably going to be made harder. So I think it's, I think that's an important thing, again, through coaching, that you can help people with, because it is. And people get so caught up in their own mind. Again, the negative perception and imagination that they get carried away with. Well, okay, if I do this. And again, obviously there's a monetary value to all of this getting done, but it just needs to be planned. Be like, okay, so if you can't do this right now, then what do we need to do in order to get there?
Yeah, that is true.
And again, as long as you have a plan in place, what I wanted to talk to you about too is writing. Do you know The Artist Way? Have you ever heard of that?
Artist who?
The Artist Way. It's a book.
The Artist Way?
Yeah. Have you ever heard of that? Oh.
No.
It's a book. It was just brought to me. And basically what
the author?
I'm not sure. I could look it up. But it was just brought to me. I was at my cousin's wedding talking to my family about it, and like my whole family had done it besides me. But essentially what it is you write for 3 months straight, every morning. You write 3 pages every morning. And it's supposed to unleash your creative mind in far more ways. So that's why, I'm going to read it. I'm reading Atomic Habits right now. Have you read that book?
No, I haven't.
It's very good. But it's fascinating to think about the concept of writing. It's by Julia Cameron, The Artist Way. The concept of writing and how it does unleash something inside you, because what it does, in my mind, is it gets your both conscious and subconscious thoughts onto the physical plane. So it exists, right?
That's
it's
right.
out there, and you see it and you read it and write it, and then it lives. It's been given life.
But when you write it every day, it makes you, as I said, writing causes you to think.
Right.
and you want to think, right? So when you are thinking, you're already there. You're already in that new life, right? And by repetition, you're planting that seed over and over again into your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind take it as a truth in like you would not even realize when exactly,
Right.
but it will happen and it will switch your thinking and your beliefs.
Correct.
Yeah,
Because you
and
can train the subconscious mind.
You can train, of
Right.
course. Yeah,
By creating
that's
new
what
habits.
we do. Yeah,
Right. Right.
creating new habits. As I said, not only habits but also new beliefs,
Right.
installing new beliefs, and etc. Right, creating your new self-image and changing that, shifting that self-image a little bit. But it's very, very powerful. You know, Van Gogh said, "I first dream my painting, and then I paint my dream."
Right.
So when you write a journal of your new life, right, every single day, you add more details, right? Every day, like painters, they every day they add a little bit, you know, red here, a little bit blue there. So that's how you're doing. Oh, maybe you know you want to double the revenue, and do something else with the whatever that income is, profit, right? So there your mind is working, right? You're getting more and more ideas when you're writing down, when
Right.
you're journaling every day,
And I wanted
and
to
you're
get,
believing it. You start believing
exactly.
it.
Well, because you see you see the results. You know, you
Exactly.
start to get the results of what you're
But-
looking for, but small. But it just all it does is
Yeah.
it reaffirms yourself and your subconscious.
But it's also you're acting on it,
Right.
up on it, right?
Right.
You're taking steps. So not, you know. So what Steve Jobs said, like you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You're connecting dots looking backwards, right? So you always want to know where is that destination in order for you to set a goal, B goal, and then get to that C goal.
Exactly. And
Okay.
as far as your own story, though, because you mentioned you did this as well. So you were at a stage of life, and this might have been before you went to the seminar, but you had made a decision yourself that you wanted to see some change, and you know you wanted to start living your life in a way that you thought was more conjunctive to your happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell me more about that? Because I think it's important for listeners and you know potential clients to understand that you went through the same journey on your own. So you were at a position, and then you made changes in your own life. And you know what exactly did you experience and realize that you wanted out of life?
Yeah. So before saying that, I just want to, before answering your question, I just want to say what I love about America. It's there are some similarities between Serbia and America, but also big differences too, cultural differences. So what I love about America that Serbia doesn't have is that everything is possible here. This is I would say American dream, right? It is a true if you believe it is a true.
Exactly.
Like in my country, I would say people are scared to dream. They don't dream, you know, or they dream but they don't ever take action on it, right? So when I moved here in America, I didn't have a huge big dreams, you know, but how I started working on myself and realizing how everything is possible just if you know how to create it and how to think and how to behave and attitude, what attitude you have, everything is really possible. So what happened to me was that more than 4.5 years I worked for, as I mentioned, interior design firm, and I burned out. I've been working all the time, like from 7 a.m. hustling, right? And you know, you gotta understand, like I came on my own. I don't have any family or support. Like you gotta work. I mean, you too. That doesn't matter. Like everyone who wants to succeed, right? And 4.5 years of that, I saw the ceiling. I found myself, okay, I'm not growing. I'm not, you know, I was reporting to the CEO directly, and there was no growth for me. There were no next steps. Maybe being a partner, but he never wanted, like, you know, give these positions. So I heard my intuition, like there is, much more meaningful way that you can help more people, not only one person. And I was thinking, okay, so what that could be, how I can help people. And I was a business development director. And, when you're in this position, you're already helping people. But I was asking myself, okay, what that could be. So I literally Googled how to find a purpose in life, because life is more meaningful. I want to, be really fulfilled and live my purpose. And I ran into Bob Proctor website, and that's how I found him. And as I said, first I was streaming a live seminar that he did in LA, but then I was streaming it in New York. And then after that, I went live to see him live in LA. And I decided right there and then, I'm going to do this. My passion is to help people become aware, to be awakened, because many people go through life.
They're zombies.
Like, exactly, zombies, and you look in life, like through keyhole on the door.
Right.
That's how they live their lives. They don't open all door and say, oh, so many opportunities. There's so many things to do, that's so. And I took certification training there, but then you and I spoke a little bit about it, how I did it. I created another position for myself. Basically, I hired a coach right there and then at the seminar, and he helped me create what I wanted. So I needed to pay for that certification training. How I'm going to do it? Double my salary. How I'm going to double my salary? Okay, what do I want? Right? So I wanted to switch into technology industry. And I wrote down who are the people that I want to work for, how many days of vacation I want to have. I want to work remotely, okay. At the same time, I also want to open my own company. And that's how it happened. I got that new role like less than 2 months. In a month and a half, you won't believe it, but really it happens. You can really create whatever you want.
Right.
Yeah.
And how long did it take for that entire, goal setting to come to fruition? Like, as far as changing jobs, getting your own business, everything you kind of wrote down, how long did it take you for you to see it all, happen?
It's still happening.
Right. It's still happening.
Most of it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I changed jobs. I finished certification training.
All
of that. Double the revenue. Yeah. Yeah. I opened my own company. I started working.
How long did that take?
What?
From the time where you write stuff down, you were at you were at the seminar. From there, how long did it take you to open your own business?
So I got a job less than 2 months, and I opened my business in 6 months.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. There you go. See, with some focus and a little coaching too, and that's important too.
That's very important part. Yeah.
So, I'm actually gonna tell my story first because a similar thing happened, and then I have a question to ask. When I was like 25, I had been in the city for 3 years, similar to you. It was this first job I got down here. And I had gotten burnt out. And not only that I'd gotten burnt out, I had just gotten so far away from like myself. Like I was I got caught up in the life, and like I was I was like out of control. So I ended up having like a mental breakdown, like really lost it. It ended up being good for me, but like it was bad at the time. And after that, I realized like I had to break this whole thing down, this person I had become, and start building it back up. So this happened in June of 2000 and had to be like 2015, 16 maybe, somewhere around then, 2015. But I realized I was like, I got to start making changes. Like I got to get things right. And
you see emotional impact.
Right.
That's what you have.
Right. Correct. I had emotional impact.
You decided to change something.
Right. So I started to envision things, and I was like, I'd really like to travel. Like I've never traveled. I've only, growing up, I came from a very middle class family. Like the furthest we ever went was Florida, and I wanted to see the world and stuff like that. And I realized I liked my job. Like I liked being in the moving industry because I like to help people. But like I also wanted to try something new. And that's when we were talking about on the way here, like I got my real estate license and I got into commercial real estate for a little while. But I realized, you know, that wasn't for me. Like it was too corporate. It was too just like diligent, and that's how you become a zombie. You know,
That's
you
right.
fall into the trap and like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I realized I was like, that's not for me yet. And I was on Indeed.com looking for jobs, and I had typed in moving, office moving, something like that, and a job popped up, office move coordinator at Indeed.com. And at the time,
Perfect.
I know, and at the time, I thought it was like a template as far as like what a job looks like on Indeed. Like they put it up there for you to understand it. Like I was confused. I was like, wait, this is a job at Indeed, on Indeed. So I applied and I was a perfect fit. And at the time I wasn't making income because I took this job in commercial real estate and the guy didn't want to pay me. He's like, you know, we got to see how you can do. So I wasn't making income for like 3 months and I was pressing Indeed to hire me. So I was like, listen, so like I can get the job like after the first interview. I was like, how soon can I start? Like, well, it's going to take a little time, but I was like, okay, whatever. And then through that job though, I traveled the world. I refined my skills.
Here you go.
I started my own business while I was there. I really opened my eyes because we talked about this too. When you travel and you are outside of your comfort zone, alone no less, you start to experience the human experience in such a different way because you're like an onlooker in these foreign countries, and you have to assimilate to the culture and the people there, and you know you can't be popping off because you know they'll shun you, and it's fascinating to be that person and like you know having to assimilate and be understanding. You know, you have to make yourself incredibly vulnerable through
That's
all
right.
that. And, you know, through that span, I was at Indeed 3 years, 2.5 years, somewhere around there. But through that span, I mean, the amount of growth that I had and was able, again, I broke it all down. And the amount of growth that came from
But
that.
you see, if you didn't take, sorry for interruption, but if you didn't take that change,
Right.
you would not grow.
Right.
You didn't stay in a comfort zone and just stay there
Right.
forever.
Exactly.
Right.
I very easily could have.
And then I know also, like after Indeed, you did a different job too.
Right. I was at WeWork,
Right.
which was cool. Yeah.
So you see, so how did that make you grow?
WeWork was more of a challenge growth. You see, Indeed was a great job. I mean, great people, like some of my best friends there. And it wasn't challenging though at all. It was like a very easy job for me. And it was sweet too, because I looked like an all-star constantly because like moving stinks, right? And like who knows anything about moving? Luckily I do. So I would do these jobs and it was easy for me. It was an easy job. I knew WeWork was going to present more of a challenge. And the whole WeWork concept at the time was like very cool. Like it's like, oh, this fast growing tech company, like Adam Newman, this big figure, like, you know, you can go be a part of all that. I knew it was always temporary because I had my business and, you know, having my own business and working in sales and on this side of things is where I always knew I was going to be. But I was like, you know what, that'll be a cool part of the journey and it'll be a new challenge. And it was chaos. It really tested my mental. It was just so, and no offense to like WeWork at all. Like I enjoyed my job. The people there were great. Again, like worked with really talented people, but it was just so chaotic because of predominantly Adam Newman and his growth plans. Like it was just go, 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 go.
Very hectic.
And like, and like solve the problems after, but just figure it out, you know, while you're going.
No way, yeah.
So it was no way to work. And, you know, but it was cool though. And it taught me a lot as far as, I learned about all facets of like real estate construction. So like, especially in my position, like not a lot of people know about construction well or IT well or design well, architecture. I can read plans, you know, like I can do a lot. And especially on site, like I can troubleshoot very quickly because of WeWork. I would walk into sites and it would be a full-on construction zone and we'd be opening in like 7 days. So I became very good at like troubleshooting and getting things done quickly and figuring it out.
That's again training, and you got into habit.
Right.
Yeah, right. That
Exactly.
was your new norm.
Exactly.
Well, going from one job to another.
And more importantly, I don't get overwhelmed. Like nothing is like
Mhm.
too much for me. Like I don't get
You stay aligned.
exactly. Like I don't
Mhm.
get crazy. Like my adrenaline doesn't rush. Like it's just all in the day. So like I am very good at that. And it's nice too because when I was young, that was not the case. Like I was very sporadic and just I was young, so like I didn't really know what I was doing. Like now I'm very even keeled and when problems arise, which I'm lucky they rarely do anymore, I can handle it. And I just figure it out and get it done and do what's necessary. So we've been going for about 40 minutes now, and that's typically how long these podcasts last. But we've been having a great conversation, and I think our listeners are going to really enjoy it. So to our listeners, this was part one of our conversation. Please tune in next time for part two of our conversation with Mili Ristic to discuss more about leadership training and mindset training. And we'll see you next time.